is a suppressed stand, primarily alder. Actually, you didn't even see these the younger fir in here because the alder was so thick. We had a grade 5 class here in the spring of 1990 in which we led them through the forest here on this trail, showing them what's some forestry things, and we let them plant a few trees. Each one of these pink flags, if you just have a wander through there, you'll see that we've planted cedar trees, 1-year-old. They're about this high. They were severely browsed by deer, I think deer first, and then bulls or snowshoe hare during the winter. And there's a real good chance they're not going to make it. The reason for this stop is we want to show you some of the problems we're having with reforestation. We're averaging 50% survival in the drier subzones of this district and probably 75 to 80 in the wetter subzones. This would be classed as one of the drier ones. So what we're going to do here is we're going to plant some 3-year-old cedar that will have a better chance of competing with the existing ground vegetation, which primarily consists of thimbleberry and bracken fern. And you can see some of the alder are starting to resprout already. So we really want to get some larger trees in here to be able to compete from the beginning. Yeah, they're very vulnerable. But if you just have a look at some of the trees before you leave this site, the ones, there's some bigger ones that they plant right beside the other ones, but just down there, right off the road, you can see that they're really tuned up. Thank you very much, Paul. It's all recorded on film, I hope.
You gotta
pack it down. Yeah, looks great. So these are 3-year-old cedar. They've been transplanted right here in Pemberton to harden them off, as opposed to a 1-year-old seedling that comes out of the nursery, which is anywher from 10 to 12 centimeters in height. And you can see that these trees should have a much better chance.
Spoken like a true faller.
Thank you very much. The thing would be about this high by now. That was about the original height that it was planted at. And you can see, like I said, it's not dead. The root system is growing and developing, and if things go right, then next year, these new shoots will come up and it could recover. Okay, now what happens in some of the browsing that we get, it browses it off right here. Well, there's no chance. There's nothing left. So, but this is the trees that we planted. The children planted them in the spring of 1990, and that's what we're up against. So,
well, you put that deal around them now, don't you?
We have a Vexar tube, and we're going to be looking at that right now. Okay, next stop is just here on the corner. Because of the ground vegetation, the intense competition, what we got here is a product called a brush mat. It's a plastic film that will not. It's got inhibitors in it that will not let the sunlight through, so that there's no growth. It's held down by pins in the corners. These ones have been pulled out. This is a 2-year-old Sitka spruce planted here, and these things, they're called brush mats. Theoretically, should offer this tree 3 years of competition-free growth. Otherwise, without this thimbleberry, and there's probably half a dozen thimbleberries around it, would be overtopping it at this stage, and this thimbleberry is going to grow. This tree would be completely overtopped for the first 3 years. So we are using these operationally for the first time this year. Very expensive. The mat itself is 37 cents. The pins to put it in, or the 4 corners, are 6 cents a piece. We paid $1.50 to the planters to install these things, and the tree is worth this tree is worth 2 bits, so we're talking like over $2 a tree, money spent up front to get these things going. But it's actually cheap when you think of the browsing or the vegetation competing with it. You don't get any survival, and you're doing the whole thing again and possibly spending $3 and $4. Now, somebody mentioned Vexar tubes. We have a Vexar tube here. I'll just pull it out and show you what we're doing operationally again for the last 2 or 3 years. This is a Vexar tube. This is used to prevent browsing. It's put over top of the tree at the time of planting, and it's held in place by this steel pin, because if you don't hold them in place, they're going to topple over, or the deer are going to come along and just pull them out of the ground. This particular one is not for deer, it's for smaller rodents such as snowshoe hares and pecan that we have here. They come in various heights, but basically you plant the tree, you put this over top, and you secure it with the pin, And we're talking 45 cents for that and 17 cents for that and another 50 cents to $1 to install them. But again, it's sometimes cheaper when you come back 2 months or 3 months later and the deer have eaten 50, 60, 70% of every tree planted. And tree planting is costing us 50 cents to plant the tree. So it's substantial losses out there. So we are going to things like Vexar tubes, to brush mats, to try to improve the survival and to protect the growth of these trees.
Yeah, but it's not a necessity.
You're running the yard or in your ground leading, you'd think it was.
Because we're saying okay to backspire trails as long as there isn't the side cutting or the ground disturbance that's detrimental at all to the site.
But see, like on that green thing there wasn't allowed a backspire trail. And it was just sort of just a natural
goal to start with.
You know, it was just a rock side they could have went on. They weren't allowed. And all it does is that you just have to climb the tree and put the...
Yeah. Twisters back and you got to be packing the blocks and everything instead of going up with the boom and walk and go ahead and start logging.
You'll see the logging is going to have to slow down.
Definitely right now with backspire trails on slopes that are greater than 30%, we don't want to see any. You know, and
well, you have to make a cut.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Can't sit
and that's why we don't want to see them, because there is site degradation that takes place. The other problem that we looked at last week was the logs that are dragged into the landings and the roadsides. And right now that's creating a problem for us. You know, we'd prefer to see those either out in the bush, scattered around, or else somehow utilized or burnt, you know, in, say, debris piles somehow. Because leaving them there, you can't plant as many seedlings along those road edges or around the landings. And as a result, the company that is going to have to do something, because they have to make sure that their area is 100% replanted. And in the case of all those debris piles beside the roads, they're only about 20 or 30 or 40%, you know, back into production. So that's another new thing that I guess is plaguing some of the loggers right now.
I was talking to someone who said that you have to bring it all up on the road and maybe burn it on the road.
Yeah, that
but
might.
Then forest fire starts behind there, something you can't use that road anymore, right?
Daddy.
Jump it.
Daddy, I got a tree.
Then we'll be plowing it off.
Yeah. No simple answer.